loved me. Greetings and welcome to the Monterey Center. And once I get this, it's amazing. You get things set up and then life happens. And it says, no, I don't want to do that. And so we have to go to the other plan. There we are. We're opening up. And so welcome family and friends and our guests to the Monterey Center for Spiritual Living. If you are a first-time guest or a first-time joining us in our Zoom family or our Facebook Live or on our YouTube channel, please drop a note in the chat or the comments and let us know where you're viewing from. Today is Hat Sunday here at the center. And the last time I wore a hat, it was pointed out to me after the service was over that during the talk they could not see my eyes. And so today I'm going to compensate for that by turning the hat around. I remember being in a workshop many, many years ago, and one of the wise ministers who was there made a comment that I've embodied as my own, and that is, I take my spirituality seriously, and I make light of myself. And so that's why I encourage everyone to play and just have fun, to enjoy life. Today we recognize the Divine Mother principle that embodies the fertility and the creativity in the darkness. It gives birth from the darkness into the light, and there's a partnership with both the light and the dark in this creative process. This Divine Mother principle teaches us that the creative medium that holds the darkness is a place of creativity and gestation for life. It nurtures life in that safe, dark space of love to be born into physical manifestation and light. And so today it's a special day that is set aside to honor mothers and those who represent the divine feminine principle. And I remember a couple of years ago, I thought I had mastered all of the various categories that the mother nurturing shows up. And so I had identified these as, mother and stepmother and grandmother and auntie and foster mother. And, I went down the whole list. And I was in an interactive community where they talked back to the speaker, and several people started announcing and declaring other roles that this mother principle shows up. And so I said, okay, at the risk of omitting someone, I'm going to be inclusive, which is something that I value, and to say we acknowledge the Divine Mother principle in all of the ways that it shows up. So happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers and all that motherhood represents. I have a little Mother's Day humor to share with you. Sunday after church, a mom asked her young daughter what the Sunday school lesson was about. And the daughter answered, "Don't be scared, you'll get your quilt." Needless to say, the mother was perplexed. And so later in the day, the minister stopped by to have tea, and the mother asked the minister, "What was the morning Sunday school lesson about?" And the minister replied, "Be not afraid, thy comforter is coming." So it's all about perception, and it's all about languaging. And so today we are looking at this idea of unlearning the fear of darkness. And I added a tagline or a byline: turn fear into reverence, turning our fear into reverence. We've likened the darkness to evil for eons because we have generally been taught to fear the darkness instead of embracing it. The darkness is that fertile space of creation, creativity, and the womb that gives birth to the light. To appreciate the beauty of the darkness, we have to unlearn the stigmas about it. What if we partnered with the darkness instead of fearing, controlling, or labeling it? What if we held the unknown with wonderment instead of fear? These healthy shifts allow us to change our relationship with the darkness and to embrace the shadows and the light. We know from our Science of Mind and New Thought principles that our thoughts shape our reality, that what we focus on manifests, and what we resist persists. We make affirmations to shift our focus away from the perceived negativity of the mystery of the darkness, the mystery of the darkness. However, the laws of the universe work equally, and we are to use them wisely and carefully. In our subconscious mind, if our subconscious mind is filled with negativity about the dark, we're bound to manifest that negativity in our experience based on those thoughts and fears. It is up to us to gain awareness of these inner dynamics that sabotage our good and work to change them. And I have a couple of supporting quotes that I think amplify this. A quote that is often attributed to Ernest Holmes, but in my research, I can't find it as a Holmes quote specifically. And that quote is, "Change your thinking, change your life." It's often attributed to Holmes. And so I posted a note on our ministers' listserv asking the wise guidance of my fellow ministers to identify where this quote came from. And if it is a Holmes quote, to cite the reference for me. So I've been receiving some interesting answers, and I'll report back to you next week as to where the source of this is. Anyway, regardless of who it is identified with, to change our thinking and change our life, from our Science of Mind principles, Holmes reminds us to recognize that our thoughts have the power to create. Those thoughts that reside in those dark places, in the mystery, is where the power to create emerges from. And I think a more accurate summation of this statement comes from our Science of Mind textbook. And I'm paraphrasing it. Holmes writes, "The power of right thinking rests entirely on the theory that we are surrounded by a universal mind which reacts to our thought according to law." And this is on page 177. And then another source that we often hear this idea of changing our thinking and changing our mind comes from the Bible, and it's from Romans 12 and 20. And I am citing the Aramaic version of this, which is the text that is reported to be the closest to the language that Jesus spoke. It is the language of the region that Jesus' birth is attributed to. And it reads, "And do not imitate this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds, and you shall distinguish what is good, acceptable, and perfect will of God." And then Ernest Holmes offers this also in the Science of Mind textbook. "Sitting in the shadow, we may not really believe that there is any sunshine, but the sun would be there all the time. It is there, but we must awaken to it." And this is on page 411 in our Science of Mind textbook. So this is an invitation to awaken to the sun, the light that is always there, and to embrace the shadows, to embrace the darkness, because the two go hand in hand. There's a partnership there. And so turning our fear into reverence. As humans, we like to think we're in charge. We like to be in control. And this is where the misuse of power can go awry. In our desire to control, those shadow places are revealed where fear of the unknown resides. And when we don't know, we often make it up to be in control. I remember when I was working in corporate, one of our senior executives would do a check-in to see what was out on the grapevine related to company operations. And occasionally would plant a little seed just to see how it germinated and how it would take on form and come back and be nowhere closely related to what the actual policy or idea or whatever the conversation was about. So that just shows how, even if we don't know, if we have just a little kernel of information, we have the tendency to run with it and to create our own reference about it because it comes from our own filter system that we bring into life. So it's a way of maintaining this idea of control. This need to control is often where violence, harm, and oppression may show up. Fear of the loss of control has caused some to stereotype and ostracize people of other cultures. This fear of others may include cultural practices, languages, traditions, ways of dress, behaviors, and on and on and on, that are specific to individuals that we may perceive as different from who we are. So it's in that unknown, it's that mystery that we tend to make up stories. Embracing the mystery of the unknown, practicing vulnerability and surrender instead of domination and control. We learn to embrace the unknown of the dark, to feel more comfortable and welcome it into our world. The darkness is our friend, a space of fertility and creativity that can soothe, comfort, and yield insight and clarity. I have a story that I want to share with you about an individual turning their fear into resistance. Heather loved nature, especially the serenity of trees. However, she had a slight fear of the woods. Being a student of spiritual principles, she wanted to release the fear and decided to meditate for a week and to see what emerged. Journaling after each meditation, she was guided to do a ritual at the foot of the woods, then take a sacred reverence walk of healing into the woods. She invited her prayer partner to go along with her to stand as a witness to her healing. She began preparing for the ritual by writing both her fears and her affirmations on individual strips of compostable paper. One who was in touch with Mother Earth. And so beginning at the foot of the woods, she dug a small hole and placed into this hole the fears first, one by one, blessing each one as she laid it to rest. Then she placed a piece of unburned pure sage on top to cleanse and purify the fears, and then put more dirt on top of that. Next, she laid the affirmations down on top of the buried fears in sage, one at a time, blessing them and activating them with her belief and faith. She put a single feather on top of this to symbolize that the affirmations must arise from the truth. And the remaining dirt was placed on top to complete the sacred burial process. She and her prayer partner now prayed for the release of the fears and for the healing and well-being of Heather, the woods, and all of life. And together they began their sacred reverence walk of healing into the woods. During the walk, they took turns saying the affirmations aloud to bring them to life, to support healing and renewal. Along the way, they did a brief meditation and prayer about the sacred moment. After the reverence walk, Heather and her partner celebrated the release as they danced with gratitude and joy to welcome the healing. Heather continued to say the affirmations to seal in the healing. And with ease, she began walking regularly into the woods and found beautiful things to notice and be grateful for. She found that her fear dissipated easily and gently slipped away. She felt healed. And so in our own lives, as we do this reverence walk, as we turn our fear into reverence, one of the questions we must ask is, and this is a breaking news alert for you, other people's fears are not ours to assume. Other people's fears are not ours to assume. And yet, we often learn from other people's fears. And so this is where we have that opportunity to take the role as observer and to examine and to begin to question the validity. Fears quite often are passed down through generations, making them become myths and seeming real. We assume fear as truth because someone we trust told us so. And so we go on our way without questioning or interrogating the validity of the myth. No wonder we are so afraid of the dark. Having an open mind and an open heart to something new and unlearning that which is no longer valid, we then surrender, we release, and we learn to unlearn our current thinking, to forgive and to let go of old habits that have limited us and others. And so wrapping this up, I offer these little tidbits for you. Embracing our spiritual practices and principles assist us to unlearn our fear of the darkness and to move from old thought patterns of fear to something new, more productive and positive. The darkness gives birth to light, and to appreciate the beauty of the darkness, we have to unlearn the stigmas about it. The darkness can show us the way home when we're lost, just as the light can show us the way if we trust it and surrender to its magnificence. So again, the dark and the light both work together. They are not mutually exclusive. It is a both and. And so as we begin to unlearn our collective fear of the dark, we begin to recognize the beauty of both the light and the dark in this partnership. We release those fears that have been passed down to us, and to do so, if it supports us, we can create a ritual where we transform that fear. We identify the fear, and then we create a ritual that transforms that fear into faith. And so I invite us now to say our weekly affirmation together. I release fear of the dark and open to new perspectives. Let us say that together again. I release fear of the dark and open to new perspectives. And our life work for the week, if you choose to accept it, and I call it the application of the affirmation, is to create a ritual to address any fears of the darkness and to demystify the unknown. To create a list of beliefs that you have been taught about the dark, and then write a list of creative ways to release and transmute these fears. And then ask these hidden beliefs of the dark to spill over into the world of hatred and violence of our society today. Ask these hidden beliefs of the dark to spill over into light in our world of hatred and violence that we see in our society today. And then journal your reflections of these experiences. And so that is our life work for the week. And I invite us now to pray together as we turn within, recognizing that there is a power and a presence for good in the universe. and that we each have the opportunity to use it. That power shows up as the one life, the one power, and the one source of all that there is. This power, this presence, this energy, however we identify it, is the foundation of all that there is. I know that I am one with this power, that it expresses itself through me and as me, and that each one, wherever we are on the planet, is an individualized expression of this divine love, this divine mother principle. And so I speak my word this morning in gratitude for the divine mother principle that shows up continually in our life experiences. And I give thanks for the awareness that I have the opportunity to move through the darkness into the light and to embrace both of those, knowing that out of this fertile ground of the darkness, the creative process begins, and that my life flows from this creative process. Knowing this to be the truth for me, I affirm it and declare it as the truth for all beings everywhere. I know that only good and good and good and more good comes from the experience of recognizing the divine mother principle, the creative source of all that there is. For it is that good that flows through life. It is a beloved saying to us individually and collectively, I love you, I see you, I appreciate you. I am those eyes to see, I am those ears to hear, I am those feet that carry you through those seemingly dark places. Trust and walk in the darkness knowing that the light is there also. And for families, and I embrace my extended family this morning with the transition of my aunt on last night. So I say a blessing to the Miles family, knowing that we have a new matriarch now, we have a new ancestor that is guiding us through this journey that is called life. And to other individuals and other families that are embracing the transition of loved ones who have stepped off of this mortal plane into the field of immortality, knowing that they are now a non-local presence that is supporting us and being with us and guiding us in all ways. As we remember mothers and those mother figures who have made transitions, as well as those mothers and mother figures that are still with us, we recognize and support them in love, knowing that they represent unconditional love that shows up as come home. Come for the embrace, come for the love, come for the nurturing, come for the comfort. I speak a word of blessing this morning for those places where people are gathering in the name and nature of the one life. For those who are experiencing transitions in other areas of life, those transitions may be moving from one residence to another residence, making a choice about right livelihood, employment opportunities, knowing that there is an abundance of opportunities that are there, and the choices are abundant. And so the elegant choices that are made are those choices that are for the highest and best of the individual and the highest and best of everyone that is concerned. And just giving thanks for life, giving thanks to this mother-father principle for all that there is, that we experience, that we enjoy, that we appreciate. Transforming our fear into that energy of love, that energy of appreciation for the beauty of all that there is. I am eternally grateful. And so for this and for so much more, in gratitude, I release this word now into that law which always says yes. And I invite you to affirm this, if any be true for you, by saying, and so it is. And so it is. Thank you to everyone who is joining us this morning, especially um, to our Facebook and YouTube family. And I just remind you that we have an opportunity for prayer with a practitioner or a minister here at the center, or practitioners that are part of our larger organization, our Centers for Spiritual Living, and for our prayer partners that support us through Unity. And you can find that contact information on our website at www.montereycsl.org. And now it is time for our gracious giving. It is a time to celebrate in the flow and the circulation of the abundance. And we have an affirmation of abundance that I invite us to now say together. I recognize the presence of God within as a source of my abundance. Out of my abundance consciousness flows everything I could desire in life. With gratitude and thanksgiving, I now participate in the flow of uninterrupted abundance. This prosperous experience is evidence of my abundance consciousness. And so on our screen, there are the various ways that you may contribute to the center by mail, by text, and online. And for those who are gathered here in the center, we have a donation box on our hospitality table that you may leave your donations there. Also, you may purchase the current Science of Mind magazine. The donation is $5, and you just may leave the donation in the little kiosk where the magazines are. And for those of you who are viewing us online, I invite you to subscribe to our Science of Mind magazine, and you may find that information on our Centers for Spiritual Living website, www.csl.org, and follow the prompts on there for subscriptions to the magazine. It's a wonderful daily guide with affirmations and uplifting stories, and there are also wonderful stories that are written by not only the members of our CSL community, but also other noted individuals who are part of the New Thought movement. So that's my plug for the magazine. Just a couple of highlights for those of you who are joining us. Today is Mother's Day, so take the opportunity to honor your mother or the one that represents the mother figure in your life. Next Sunday is our third Sunday. It is our Soul Collage. We invite you to join us after service from noon until 2 p.m. This is facilitated by Denise Kaku. The donation is $35. However, no one is turned away for the lack of money. On the fourth Sunday is our Spiritual Living Circle, and I will also be off on the fourth Sunday. I have the opportunity to do a wedding out of the area. And we have a wonderful guest speaker who will be joining us, Reverend Kathy Nichols, and we'll have more information about her. Reverend Kathy is actually with us here in the center this morning, and we'll have more information. I'll have a wonderful bio to share with you next week, so please plan to join us on the fourth Sunday for the talk with Reverend Kathy, and then stay for the Spiritual Living Circle. And then save the date for our annual Asilomar Summer Retreat. Information is on the website. For those of you who are here in the center, we have flyers that have the links to register for the Asilomar Conference. The conference dates are August 8th through 11, and the early bird registration is valid until June the 15th. And for the early bird registration, if you are staying on campus, if you're staying at the Asilomar retreat, it is $555. And for those who are staying off-site, the early bird, no, for those staying on-site, the early bird is $495. And for those who are staying off-site, it's $555. And this is the conference registration. It does not include accommodations. So if you're staying at the Asilomar Conference Center, you make your reservations through them. Anyway, all of that information is on the website, and the links are posted on our website and in our newsletter, and are available here at the center. And so once again, I take this opportunity to say good morning to our online viewers on Facebook and our YouTube channel. I invite those who are joining us via Zoom to remain on, and invite all of you to join us next week, where our talk title will be Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. How I wonder what you are. I remember most of the nursery rhyme. So we say good morning, we love you, God bless you.